Welcome to episode 3 of the BioPulse podcast. Today, I'm joined by Neal Spruce, a former champion bodybuilder, nutrition expert, and entrepreneur. He is the founder of dotFIT, Apex Fitness, and he's the former chairman of the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Neal has spent over 4 decades shaping how fitness, nutrition, and science intersect, from helping scale nutrition systems in major gym chains like Gold's Gym and 24-Hour Fitness, to building evidence-based systems that changed the way trainers approach performance, health, and longevity. Neal, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it, Jordan.
I think the best logical place to start is if you could explain a little bit about your background for the people who don't know who you are.
I don't know if everybody wants to know about that, but all kidding aside, yeah. I mean, I grew up in a pretty difficult situation. I just basically, I lived with many different families growing up, and I end up, hanging around motorcycle gangs, outlaw. But the difference was I still love sports. I played football through all that. Everything was kind of, that's what kind of kept me from going too deep into gang life. And then one day I'm, riding your motorcycles and there's hardly anybody left. I'm like the last man standing, right? Everybody's dead or in jail, in my group. So I'm sitting here going, okay, let's, so at that particular point, I realized what saved my life. It was sports. It was football. And then bodybuilding is what got me out of that world. And so that's the day I flipped the switch. And I said, I'm going to save the world through fitness. It saved my life, and I'm going to do that. So I set out to build the companies that I build to be able to pay all that back. So that's kind of the evolution of it all. So I was your typical American outlaw, but I had that good side to me. You did all the, I did all the outlaw things then, but that was just to get to the next day, because you had to get to the next day and, not having, you have no support around you and stuff like that. So that was kind of that's how it all kind of started, and then got into bodybuilding after football, and things just went from there, because that was my vehicle to be able to put things together to make a difference in the world.
So you said you're into football as well. So what inspired you to pursue bodybuilding over football then?
Well, I wasn't good enough in football. I mean, it's not like my other son, who actually made it to the NFL. Zane's brother actually made it to the NFL. There was no chance of me even going to college, let alone the NFL. So it was just nothing. I loved football. That was a great sport. I was good at it. Then I went on to play, even after high school. I went and played in some adult leagues and so forth. But all of a sudden, I started lifting weights, and first I never lifted weights for football or anything. My body just responded, and it responded so quick that I got very, as we like say, addicted to it. The bodybuilding bug bit me. It got to that point where you go, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I did very well in my first competitions and so forth. So that's kind of how it all went. And then the whole thing, that's how I learned everything about nutrition.
I'm interested to hear slightly more about your outlaw past. Like, what takeaways from that lifestyle have you been able to apply during your career in business and bodybuilding?
The main thing for me was that I learned there's a difference between toughness and strength. To survive in the streets, when you live in the streets, I grew up in the streets, people smell fear. And when they smell fear, you're dead. You have to have no fear. That was part of it. So one of my things that I learned from that is having no fear. To walk into a room when I don't know anything about it, I will figure it out one way or another. That was one. The other thing was, it's toughness versus strength. Being a tough guy, that's nothing. That'll get you through a day. You beat someone up, you got to, you're whatever it may be, that gets you through a day. Strength takes you the distance. That takes you the journey. So I've learned strength. It taught me strength also after I got out of that world.
So, I mean, you're quite the nutrition expert. Was that something that you developed straight away, or were you passionate about straight away when you got into bodybuilding, or is the nutrition side of things, did that come a bit after?
Well, that's an interesting question, because someone asked me this many years ago. They said, so when did you kind of discover nutrition? Okay, you ready for this? It was football practice one day. Now, don't forget, I'm living with a Portuguese family at this particular point. My last couple of years in high school, I was living with them. And the mom, when I moved in there, the mom goes, would you like me to make you lunch? Because generally, I would not take a lunch to school. So I didn't have any lunch to go. People would just give me leftovers of their lunch, and then I go to practice, right? Well, she just made me these 5 sandwiches. So, I'm eating all this all day before I go to football practice this particular day. I was a junior this year, so 16. Um, and the coaches are going, are you on drugs, Neal? And they go, because you're winning everything. Well, you go to win sprints at the end, right? Everybody's dead. And I was usually halfway in the pack. And being a DB, you think that I'd be like, one of the first guys to win sprints, but I was always weak on the endurance side. So anyway, they said, oh, you got to be on drugs, or what do you because I just beat everybody nonstop. Well, that was it right there. I discovered, what did I do different? Nothing, except that I ate energy before I got there. And that was the aha moment for me about nutrition, what it can do in a body in one day. Albeit, I was probably a little more deficient than your average person. But the point is, it was like a huge awakening for me. And then there's more to it after I got into bodybuilding, realize, what you can do with nutrition, you can't do with exercise. I can change your body in 2 hours with nutrition. You can't do that with exercise. Exercise is like watching paint dry when it comes to changing your body. It's like watching, okay, I just did my curls. Oh, my biceps not any bigger. Like, how'd that happen? But with nutrition, I can just change your glycogen loading, and make a difference.
Now you've built some of the most influential fitness companies in the world. So what problem did you see that you were trying to solve? Was it just lack of nutrition understanding in general, or was it something else?
What? It's just the fragmented industry that we have. If you want to take fitness, but it always cracks me when they talk about fitness. Well, fitness, that's exercise, and no, it's not. It's the exercise, it's your nutrition, it's your fitness. It's holistic in nature. And the problem is the whole industry was fragmented. You got your dietitians over here, or you got nutrition gurus over here, and then you've got your exercise people over here, your sports performance, and then your hypertrophy, your bodybuilding community, all this kind of stuff. It was so it was just all fragmented. So it was literally in the Gold's Gym days where I just go, this has all got to come together in one spot. So that people have an answer to, what's your goal? I want to lose body fat. I want to gain muscle. Okay, boom. I got it all right here for you in one spot. And that's what drove me to create the first nutrition program in the history of the gyms. That's what drove me to do it all, put all of these fragmented industries together, because no one's talking to each other. And then the worst fragment of all of it is the medical community. They're not talking to anybody anywhere else except writing you a prescription for drugs or do a surgery, rather than talking to the physical therapist, the nutritionist, all at once, so you have it all together. So that's kind of how the whole thing kind of came together. That was my vision. That's what I wanted to do, put everything together in one spot.
And I mean, I assume it would have been a lot more difficult back then just for the average person to do their own research, because the internet didn't exist.
Exactly.
What did that look like? Like, if you had to, for people coming into the gym, is that why nutrition wasn't really something people thought of when it came to training? Was it just because it was hard to find the information?
For sure. In other words, when people would come into the gym, so what happened was when the gym business back in the day, so you go all the way up to about the 1960, let's say up to 55, 58, somewhere around there, 19, I know this is really bad. I wasn't around. I mean, I was born in 52. I'll make sure everybody knows. That wasn't, but I'm just giving you a little history here. No one needed a nutrition program. You know why? Because every person that came in the gym, they spent every single part of their day feeding their goal.
Yep.
Okay, so because they knew what they did. If you look at it, was just bodybuilders. It was basically bodybuilders, strength athletes, and all that. Very few females, very few anybody that wasn't an athlete. Very few, and very few gyms, of course. And then we opened the door to the world, to gyms, because everybody goes, God, these people are in great shape. So I'm going to go to the gym and all this. So all of a sudden, all these different places opened up, and unfortunately, their goal was fat loss. It was weight loss. So what we did was we opened it up, and the failure rate, the gym business has the highest failure rate of any business in the world, certainly back then. Where you take, FedEx has obviously 99.999% of getting it to your house at the right time, or, Amazon or whatever. But the reason is that it happened to the gym business because we sell shit people don't want to do. If your goal is fat loss now, it wasn't performance, it's fat loss, and you didn't know what to do when you left the gym, you're pretty screwed. You're going to quit because you're working out and nothing's happening. So we have that high failure rate in the gym business. So that's what I solved with our groups back then with goals, building the first nutrition program ever. So the people knew, hey, it's not the 1 hour of the day in the gym, it's the other 23 when you leave.
Yeah.
Here's your map. Here's what you have to do. And that was the big change, the big jump at that particular point. So that way you had a holistic solution when they came into our gyms.
Mm-hmm. What was it? I'm interested to know what it was like at Gold's Gym. What was the vibe like during the golden era there?
And I was just lucky. Arnold, obviously opened the door for us, after Pumping Iron, the movie. I mean, anytime you're getting ready for a contest, no matter where you live, I lived in San Francisco at the time, you fly down to Venice and work out 3 weeks before and just get the energy from the gym. It was crazy. Always like that. I mean, and the difference is in Venice, Gold's Gym Venice, you had the most famous people in the world rubbing shoulders with the biggest bodybuilders in the world. You had everybody because that was the Mecca. I was just lucky enough to be there. And then they brought me down. They discovered me after I won the Mr. Western America back in 1981. And they found me and they just said, hey, listen, Ed Connors, actually. He comes backstage. He goes, hey, listen, we're going to be opening up gyms. There's only one in Venice now. And I know you've been there and stuff, but we're going to open up on like San Francisco to be the second Gold's Gym ever. And I go, really? I didn't think, well, that really is, you're going to open up Gold's Gyms and just bodybuilding stuff. And of course I was so dead wrong. Cause then we did that and the rest is history. Then they ended up moving me down there in 87 to do grand openings and build my nutrition program around. Because when you came into the gym in San Francisco on the weekends, I would just write you and I wouldn't let you join unless you had a nutrition program.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They go like this, I want to join. And I go, well, what are you going to do when you leave here? Here, you're going to have a nutrition program. So I would handwrite it.
Yeah.
And that's how that'll work.
Because I could imagine like these people are watching Pumping Iron and seeing all these bodybuilders and stuff and thinking, oh, just go straight to the gym and, end up looking the same. So
yeah,
having that nutrition program side of things would help out a lot. I want to do a bit of a deep dive into nutrition. After all your decades of experience in the industry, what are your core beliefs and fundamentals when it comes to nutrition? What are the main things people need to understand?
The main thing people need to understand, if you want to remain active throughout your lifespan, okay, and you don't want your family members to have to haul you around the last 10 years of your life or be on 15 medications or whatever, then you have to meet the basic nutrition guidelines that can help you stay active. And that is, you've got to fill your gaps. No one's going to accidentally get all the essential nutrients they need from food. It always cracks me up when you go, oh, if you eat right, you can get all the vitamins and minerals you need. And they go, really? Okay. How's that working out? Okay. Have you seen what the average American eats and what the average person eats? So you got to fill your gaps. But at the same time, obviously, I want you to eat clean. So the best you can. But that's what will keep you active in the first place. So the whole idea is make sure that you are filling your gaps with, whatever diet you choose to follow, whatever you're doing. Listen, I gave up trying to tell people how to eat the right things, and all that, but fill those gaps. Make sure you get 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. If you're, average weight, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say average weight. That's a bad number. If you are lean, then that's fine. But if you're when you get to that's why I use lean body mass for everything. I do everything by weight because I live in that kind of specialized world. But anyway, so that's it. Now you can do that and make sure you're getting enough fiber. So you got to cover a few bases. Fill your gaps, get your fiber, get your protein. You know what? And everything will start coming together for you. But you got to start when you're younger, because it's too late when I say too late, you're just not going to do it when you get older.
Yeah. People are more reluctant to change as they get older. How much does food quality versus quantity influence body composition? Because I see this kind of like two groups of people. One says not all calories are created equal, and the other group says calories in versus calories out are everything. What side of the equation do you kind of fall in?
Well, I'm not sure there's that clear dichotomy there. I mean, I think without a doubt, the quality of your food, there's no, 1,000 calories of French fries is not equal to 1,000 calories of spinach and a lean beef or spinach and chicken.
Yeah.
So that's because it acts completely different once it's in the body. But it's
Mhm.
still, the calories are the same. You can't argue that, right?
Yeah.
But what's it going to do to you in the body? So if you're going to eat 2,000 calories of French fries and that's your maintenance versus 2,000 calories on a Mediterranean diet, let me just give you a clean diet for a second. Are you going to move more on the Mediterranean diet or move more on the French fry diet? So now your calories out are screwed because now your your BMR is going to go way down. Your body, I mean, everything is going to, you don't move anymore. You're neat. You're not exercise induced activities or anything else. You're just not, you're not going to move anymore because you're miserable. And then you lose muscle, and then that more calories are going down, so your maintenance goes down. So, but the problem is that everybody just wants to play on both sides of those things, and that's why I love you asking the question. You're just trying to trap someone into saying, okay, it's all about calories. No, yeah, it is all about calories in the final equation.
Yeah.
Because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to another. And anybody that doesn't know that, you need to unplug yourself from anything else you like. You have to lock yourself down right there. My first teaching anchor is that. Once you know that, everything else is a lot easier. Now, a cleaner diet is going to help you move more. It's going to help you, tell the nutrients where to go if you're exercising. So all of those things. But yeah, so of course, obviously, each food, calorie makes a difference on that. So certainly the quality of your food is going to affect the quantity that you can eat and still lose body fat.
Yeah. Okay. What's your current opinion on fasting and how has it evolved over the years?
It's a trick. It doesn't make any sense. Humans were never built to fast. Quite the opposite. They just were forced into it. It's 4 million years of hominids.
Yeah.
We were forced into not finding food for weeks, and then of course dying of starvation. But when you find it, you eat all of it, right? Whatever it is, you just sit there and eat it, as much as you can. And then you go on the next hunt, and that keeps going. So we were never built, but our bodies can deal with that. I mean, that's the whole reason we have insulin. That's the whole reason we have to store stuff for the fat. And the fast is after 4 hours. 4 hours is when your body goes into a fasting state. People don't realize that after you eat, you go into a fasting state at 4 hours. It's what we call the post-absorptive response. You are now whatever you ate in a mixed meal has now been broken down. It has now gone into systemic circulation, is now in your tissues. At that 4-hour mark, it's coming out to feed everything that needs amino acids. The body's an amazing organism. It comes out and does that. That's the 4-hour rule for muscle building, right? That's why you eat protein every 4 hours. That's the whole idea there. So anyway, that's the fasting makes no sense. Now, when it comes to weight loss in today's world, I'm a kind of a fan of intermittent fasting. Only for obviously not for athletes, but for other people. So anyway. There's no reason to fast unless for some reason you can't stop yourself from eating unless you fast for a couple of days or something. And you're way overweight.
Intermittent fasting is a popular ideology in the fitness industry though. And some people say it helps them, stay lean while also building muscle. Do you believe if you're intermittent fasting, you can build muscle, or is it kind of just counterproductive at that point because you're not getting I guess if you're eating this same amount of calories that you would if you weren't intermittent fasting, but you're not eating it every 4 hours, you're missing out on the muscle protein synthesis, correct? How do you
It would depend on where you started. So if you took a novice that never lifted a weight before in their life and they started exercising and they did an intermittent fasting diet, they would gain muscle. That would absolutely happen. It's more about the total protein than it is about the timing of the protein for a novice.
For a novice, yeah.
You get into the next world, and now it becomes more targeted. It is boluses every 4 hours. It is whatever if you want to maximize it. So when it comes, but the reason I was saying, Jordan, about being a fan of it, because I know so many people that couldn't lose weight. They don't want to count calories, but if they have a window, they can only eat so much in that window, and it automatically lowers their calories. So they end up losing weight for the first time. So it works. And the other people, the problem I have with not athletes, but no self-respecting professional athlete. I'm talking about elite would ever do intermittent fasting. That's obvious. But older adult athletes, they do it. And they will do, they're not competitive, but they'll do it. They're working out and they're active. They're doing it for what we call autophagy reasons, to clean out, the debris, because during that window, some of the debris is going to cleaned out. That's a little bit overkill, and there's not a whole lot of, there's a little bit of science behind it, but nothing worthwhile. So again, it's just one of those things that absolutely, I think it's a good form for people that have struggled with weight loss, and this is a good way of without having to count your calories. No one likes to count calories. So that's what it comes down to. But for muscle building, in the beginning, you're fine, but as you get better, and of course, you'll end up not using it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of just touched on it there, but what about as a longevity practice? You mentioned autophagy. I think that's another reason people fast, because they have that idea that it's helpful for longevity. What about something that's popular is doing longer extended fasts to maintain that state of autophagy? Do you see long fasts like 3 days or longer as a longevity practice, or do you not need to go for that long?
No. The answer is no. Don't do it. You do it because it makes you feel good, and if you feel better after, God bless you. Okay, there's nothing in your body that's happening that's any good unless you are really, really eating a lot of shit. Is it okay if I say that here? A lot of crap. And you just stopped eating for 3 days, and now you kind of get back to a clean eating. That makes a little sense, I guess. But no, there's nothing. There's no such thing as detoxing your body by fasting. That's just a joke. That's just that's scam shit. I always go crazy over that kind of stuff. Your liver does what it can. Detoxing your liver now, there's some good, sort of Eastern medicine that can actually clean the liver out, like your milk thistles, NAC, some of these things, they can do that. That's one way of getting your liver at least halfway clean. But yeah, there's no, the rest of the stuff is nothing. Fasting, in longer term fasting makes absolutely no sense. And there's no reason to do it. There's far better protocols you should be doing to clean up, your life and all of that stuff.
We kind of just touched on it with fat loss when it comes to fasting, but can you give people a short fat loss masterclass?
Sure, for sure. Okay, so depending on when you walked into me and who you were, because certainly no one's worked with more people than I have, whether you're the most famous actor or actress in the world getting ready for a movie, or you're just one of the members of millions of members in our gyms that follow our protocols.
Yeah.
Okay. So right off the bat, all I'm going to do is measure your body fat, because I do body composition. Now, we can do weight. I'm okay with that because some people don't have access to that, but I'm just telling you what we do. Okay. Measure your body composition, right? And you tell me, what do you want to change? Do you want to lose weight, or do you want to lose body fat? Weight means lean body mass and everything else. If you want to go on a diet without exercise, you want to go a diet without getting enough protein, a diet with enough micronutrients, then you can just cut your calories down, and 30% of that weight will be lean body mass, which is muscle, bone, organ weight. You're going to lose that. So it's just then I go, or you can do it this way. And by the way, that way you become a skinny fat person. And so they get a visual in their head right there, right? Yeah. We teach all our trainers, they get a visual like, oh, shit, I don't want to be that. Okay. And you're going to break down early. And when you gain the weight back, you're only going to gain the fat back. Okay. So now on our side, you can do it this way. You lose only body fat, because I'm going to give you enough protein to overcome the deficit, because your body's going to go after that muscle, but doesn't have enough protein. This will offset that. And I'm going to fill your micronutrient gaps, because that's what powers all your trillions of cells. And we're going to feed your muscle and starve your body fat. Which one do you choose? Boom. They click right. And they go that way. And that's what we do. And we prove it just by measuring their body fat regularly. They'll actually put on muscle while they lose body fat.
Are you using DEXAs to measure body fat?
No. Here's the reason you can't. In the gyms, that's obviously a little bit complicated. True. And all that. I would love you to use it if you have time and you can use it, as long as you do it every 3 or 4 weeks, not every week, because it really depends. There's too many variables. Yeah. The easiest thing, the best thing to use is skin folds when you're working with a trainer, and because the number will not lie. Yeah. It's the same thickness, the same thing. It's moving directionally correct. I don't care about the original number. If the original number's 20% on a caliper, a 4-point caliper, and yet you're what in a DEXA, and a DEXA said 23%. Why do I care? It's a number.
Yeah.
I want it to go this way, down. Directionally correct is all you need, and the only way you're going to be able to do that practically in my world of the gym business with millions of members is going to be with skin folds. So that's the easiest way, and it's a never lose situation.
Why do you think so many people struggle losing fat? Is that-
Because they're not filling their gaps. They're not getting enough protein. You're talking about struggle losing it if they go on a diet?
Well, I think people in general, I think, struggle when it comes to losing fat. I don't know if it's, they've tried different diets and it didn't work, if it's lack of discipline, if it's lack of, like you said, filling gaps. So what do you think would be the biggest reason why people struggle to lose weight?
Oh, to lose
In
weight.
particular
Okay, so
fat. Yeah,
I'm
sorry, I
sorry.
should have said
thought we
lose
were
weight.
talking
Yeah.
about fat. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
no,
let's get there. Motivation. That's all.
Yeah.
When you so Jordan, if you look at anybody, I know you know many people that have tried to lose weight. I'm using the word weight, and in my world, that's a crime. We use body fat, but let's use weight. You that have lost it, gained it, lost it, gained it, lost it, gained it. Okay, so in the problem is that then once in a while someone actually succeeds at it. And when they succeed at it and they've kept it off for 5 years, we keep track of those people, by the way. They're listed in the weight control registry in University of Colorado in Pittsburgh. That's we house all the people that have lost over 30 pounds and kept it off for 5 years. I'm sorry, 5 years. Okay. And if you look at the common denominator, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your audience's mind here when I tell them this. The common denominator, well, we already know what it is, right? It's, your nutrition, a little bit of exercise, all that kind of stuff. That part's easy. And multiple meals, like 4 meals a day. Meal replacements, they actually use meal replacements in between their regular meals and stuff to keep their energy levels up. So those are all the stuff that we know. But the number one reason for people succeeding was the trigger event.
The trigger event.
What caused you to start this program in the first place? It wasn't necessarily the method. So it meant, what was the motivation? And the number one reason was divorce.
Really?
And I listen, I used to always make this joke. I always tell my wife when we were out, when our kids were playing ball back in the day, I go, all of a sudden this guy's in shape for the first time in a long time after being over. I go, don't ask him about his wife. I can promise you. We had all kinds of little jokes, and it was almost every time right. You got to be, it is motivation. So I make a living of being in shape, right? I make a living. That's how I get my paycheck. So there's nothing, I can't stand up in front of the millions of people a year that I stand up in front of on my lectures around everywhere, but anything else. You can't do that. Right. And so that's why the other one was an athlete. I can't perform if I'm not in shape to perform. We call that playing weight. So your playing weight has to be at the right place. That motivates you to do whatever you need to do to stay in shape. Other people, it comes down to that because we're just too overly influenced by the food around us. The food around us is just tastes so good, and we're wired to eat everything in front of us. And we're also wired not to move unless you need to, so those are the two things that are against everybody else. So motivation, you got to find motivation, Jordan. It's not some diet Neal's going to do for you. Because guess what? The only people I personally work with are motivated because they get $50 million for a movie. Okay. So they're obviously going to be in shape, so anyway.
I feel like metabolism is something that people use to cope. What are the biggest metabolism myths when it comes to losing weight or losing fat, whatever you want to say?
Yeah.
Because
there's many of them. The major one is I have a slow metabolism. Okay. What does that mean? You have a slow metabolism. So I sit there, I go, and listen, Jordan, you have to know that, I can only tell you how many people I work with when they come to a plateau. And it's really difficult to have that conversation with them. They have a slow metabolism. Well, okay, here's and we've measured this in calorie chambers. Okay. The slowest metabolism in the world of two alike people versus the fastest metabolism in the world of two alike people, everything even.
Yeah.
Maybe 10%. Couple of Oreo cookies a day. Okay, that's it. Because it's impossible. The human structure functions the same in every human. The way it functions depends on a lot of other stuff that goes around from the environment. So the point is that was number one. Number two, the heavier you are, the more calories you burn.
Mm.
Because that's more shit you got to carry around in every movement that you do.
Yeah.
So if you're 150 pounds and in shape, this is always the sad thing when I do my lectures for all the trainers, I go, when you become fit, you burn less calories than you weren't fit. Think about it. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
It's just terrible. But it's because, guess what? What was your heart rate going up those stairs when you were 250 pounds? Like 150? Now when you go up those stairs, when you've lost 150 pounds or 100 pounds, now it's like 60. How many burn more calories then or then? I mean, same thing with every part of your body. When you're hauling, imagine grabbing two 50-pound dumbbells, one here in this hand, one here in this hand, and doing your whole life movements with that. Are you going to burn more calories with them or without them? Obviously with them. Yeah, so that's the misnomer that most people have. Well, if I exercise, well, you're going to come to a plateau. Your body's going to figure out how to live on those calories. I got to change something. That's what I got to do to keep it moving until you get to your goal.
What about people saying your metabolism gets worse as you age? Is there any truth to that?
Well, don't forget, Jordan, I'm going to make sure your audience knows all this. Metabolism is the definition of metabolism is every single activity that goes on inside the body. So I don't want to get people, it's not how many calories you burn, it's everything that goes on. So what's happening is, as you get older, as soon as you get into your fourth decade of life, okay, so you're now in your early 30s, you are now losing muscle unless you have an activity to keep it or build it. So you're going to lose a few pounds of muscle every decade, and then it gets worse and worse as you get older. And of course, muscle burns 3 times more calories than fat statically. In other words, people always think, well, muscle burns so many calories, more calories, fat. It really doesn't. Fat burns about 2 or 3 calories a day, a pound, and muscle burns about 8. So 6 to 8. So it's about 6, actually. So, but if you move muscle, it burns a crap load more, right? Not when fat doesn't do anything, it just jiggles. So you don't burn any more calories. But the point is that, so that's really what's happening. Your body composition is changing. So they say metabolism is going down. Well, it is. It's because you're losing muscle, but you can keep
that
it
makes sense
with exercise and stuff.
Yeah. What separates high quality protein from low quality protein sources? And basically where I'm getting at with this is plant-based protein a scam?
Okay. Well, first of all, what separates high quality protein from low quality protein, and I hope everybody gets this, it is the essential amino acid count within 1 gram of protein. Whey is number 1, like egg is number 2, every scientist knows that. So 1 gram of protein is the essential amino, because those are the ones you need, okay? Now, plant protein in nature, just natural plant protein, is definitely less quality. You just have to eat more of it. It doesn't mean, like, soy is like the only complete protein in the plant world. But it's still very low quality because the essential amino acids are low per gram of protein. So the fallacy that people have, Jordan, is that, okay, so I just had oatmeal today and it said I had 9 grams of protein in my oatmeal. Well, that's really about 2 grams.
Yeah.
Because, the essential amino acid count there is pretty much useless in there. Now, if you filled in those essential amino acids with essential amino acids, you could bring that up to about 15 grams of protein. And that's what we do for plant. Like we make a plant protein. We do have a lot of vegan athletes, or they want to be vegan anyway, or they tell you they're vegan. So they end up, so they do. We do put them on a plant protein, but what do? We took the plant protein, which is a pea protein, which is inferior to any sort of, obviously animal protein, but we put in the aminos. Put in more leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and we bring the essential amino acid count up. In fact, it's even higher than whey. We just kind of load it up. We always love loading people up. So, yeah. But if you're going to plant protein, I mean, they're trying to make a big case out of just, the foods of plant. You really got to fortify. If you're a vegan, you better be supplementing.
So would you say, I mean, I think I hear a lot of the times that supplementing with BCAAs is kind of pointless, but if you supplement with just EAAs, would you, like, for someone on a vegan or plant-based diet, would you recommend that?
100%. Yeah, I would definitely do that because, branched chain amino acids definitely will help if you're supplementing any diet. If you're but you got to need a high dose of them as isoleucine, leucine, and valine. Amino acids, by the way, you don't need tryptophan because if you're taking tryptophan in free form, leave that one out of the equation of the essential amino acids because that'll put you to sleep and they don't need it. All the studies have shown the only essentials you need are the other 8 in order to be able to bring up the limiting factor of the protein that you're taking. And that's all we use for any of those things. Yeah, you take that along with it. It's better than branched chain. And the old days, all we had when I was an athlete was branched chain. I mean, we would dump like a jar of it after a workout, but the limiting factor is the other 5. The other 5 are the ones that turn on mTOR. For your mammalian target wrap myosin is that little button that tells you when to build muscle and when to stop building muscle, right? And those are the 8 amino acids. They go straight there. They bypass systemic circulation. They bypass plant extraction, and they go straight to mTOR. So we make sure feed our older athletes for sure that, and then we call it protein stacking everybody else, and of course the vegan athlete as well.
Is there any use to using BCAAs and EAAs if you're consuming animal protein and things like that, or not really?
No, if you're your average recreational exercisers, it's overkill. At that point, but you do want a fast-acting protein. Listen, I'll tell you right now, I don't let anybody ever in the old days, because I don't necessarily work with an individual other than, some specialized people. They all going to walk out with a protein powder because I know they're not going to get 1 gram per pound of lean body mass of protein from foods. First of all, it's too expensive. You need a full-time cook to do meal prep for you. So that's not going to happen. So at least, you do that. And then the average exerciser doesn't need any more than that. Just make sure you're getting enough protein. And then maybe before and after your workout, kill 25 grams before your workout. And then 25 grams after. Okay. And then you're going to be, that's 50 grams, you're done. And then the rest of it's easy to get from your food. So I think that's all. But as you get older, this is where it's important. As you get older, we become very resistant to protein. So I use aminos now during my workout to keep as much muscle as I can, or if I eat a low protein meal, I will take a scoop of that to fortify it.
I see.
So that's the reason that you still want to have, and the older you get, I would kind of change you to get the 1 gram per pound, but I'm going to add a little of this at certain times of the day.
So
the essential aminos.
You say 1 gram per pound of that, is that lean weight, lean body weight? How does that number, that protein goal change does that change at all based on age, gender, or say if you're training hard 7 days a week versus not training? How does that number kind of fluctuate?
Yeah, see, I knew you were going to ask that question, and people ask that all the time. When you are pre-pubescent, I can give you probably 0.5 gram of protein per pound of weight, and you'll do really well with it. Because your body was built to do that, because humans were only designed, and we still haven't evolved out of this, to live into their 20s. Okay. But now that we've cheated death, the world's different, because we have to reproduce at age 12. That's why females mince at age 12, because they never lived past 20, for millions of years. So they'd be able to at least reproduce. So the problem is I always tell people, and they always get shocked, after puberty, that's when old age sets in. Everything begins to change. You become but the 1 gram per pound really takes care of pretty much everybody. It's overkill when you're young, but it'll work for you when you're later. And the pound, by using body weight, that works. Now, here's the one caveat. If you're dieting, so let's say like Zane, when he has to diet for a fight or something, okay, he's going to take probably 1.5, maybe even 2 grams per pound, because that'll stave off that loss of lean body mass, trying to make that last weight. When the bigger the deficit, the more protein you're going to need to stave off the loss of lean body mass. So that's when it changes.
Are there any downsides to relying too heavily on protein shakes and protein powders, or not really?
Yes, I think so. I mean, if you were, and I actually had one of the guys, one of the most famous bodybuilders in the world. I can say it because he's like a son to me, Flex Wheeler. I got him ready for all his shows back in the day. He goes, Neal, I'm just drinking whey protein all the time. I'm not eating the food. I go, what's going to happen when you reintroduce food again? You're screwed. Your body, it doesn't know, it loses all the enzymes to break down the food.
Yeah.
So yes, there is. You don't want to use protein powders only. Using them once or twice a day. I mean, everybody does. I mean, I don't know a single person in my orbit for the last 70 years. I mean, I'm 73, but my last whatever years of all the people around me, they all use protein shakes for 1 or 2 meals a day just to fill in gaps. As far as when you're not having a meal, so you don't overeat at the next meal.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, but using it solely as a thing, or even 3/4 of your meals, I would never recommend that, because your body that's all it's used to breaking down. Is too easy. It needs to be able to break down foods and fiber.
Another thing I've heard online, I don't know if you can dispel this, is that consuming too many supplements in the form of powder isn't good for the small intestine long term. Is there any truth to that? Have you heard that or not really?
I haven't heard that, but to see if I can think about it now. So powder supplements in the small intestines. Well, I mean, the only reason you would think that. So I will tell you this: we do make. We make. Obviously, we have a very complex super blend, if we call it, that has vitamins, minerals, and everything else. But we have you take it twice daily so that you kind of saturate your cells. That you get too much at one time.
Yeah.
The other thing, we take a multi, we also, when we in a tablet, what that does, that controls the release of it, gets it past your gut. You want to get past the stomach, I'm sorry. And then in the small intestine, it releases slowly over time on the change of the pH in the intestine. So maybe that's what they're talking about, that a powder can't survive. It's destroyed with stomach acid, depending on what ingredient you're using. Obviously, if you drink coffee, it survives stomach acid because it goes right in and you can feel it. You drink alcohol, it survives stomach acid, and most vitamins and minerals can too, to a certain extent. So I think maybe that's what it was, but I haven't heard that before.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about creatine. Can you explain to people, firstly, what it is for the 2 people on the planet who don't know, who haven't heard about it now, and what it is and how it actually works in the body?
Yeah, real quick. It is your first energy source. We make it, we make about 1 gram a day, and we consume 1 gram a day if you're an omnivore. If you're a vegan, you get 0 from diet, which is why when I give a vegan athlete creatine, they think they're on steroids. Miracle, because it is the first energy system, your first energy system that powers your explosive movements. And that includes the brain. So anywhere you produce energy, so the brain, obviously, your muscles, obviously, anywhere you produce energy, creatine can have an impact if you have more there. So those first 10 seconds, 15, they now get extended. That window goes now to 15 seconds rather than 10. And the brain is like a multiple choice reaction. So if you got to react to something, you have multiple choices, boom. People using creatine, that high enough creatine level can do better. Sleep deprivation, creatine can overcome as well. Again, you have to be compromised. So we're not talking about that works for everybody. It's for people that are stressed. But when it comes to muscle performance, I mean, it's just automatic. There's probably no sport untouched, no athletic movement that is untouched when you can load your creatine and increase that explosive movement and how fast you replete the creatine system. There's only one step. You take in creatine and then you attach a phosphate that donates it to the ADP that you just used, the ATP. Now it's ATP again, one step. But that only lasts for about 10, 15 seconds. And that's the good news. The next energy system is glycolytic, because if it lasted longer than that, you'd be pulling muscles all day long. So I used to tell people, load creatine slow. Yeah, we'll move you up on it slowly because I don't want you pulling muscles real quick, But anyway, bottom line is, that's what it is. It increases the amount of energy that you can produce and the amount of movement you can do, and it's across the board successful. And now you're seeing it now in cognitive functioning. Aging population for bone strength, muscle strength, continuing and all there. I'm a big part of the movement because I've been supporting it since the early 90s when Harris discovered the loading phase. When I was an athlete, creatine wasn't there. We still took it, but we took like 1-2 grams a day. It didn't do anything. This doesn't work. Harris discovered the loading phase, and he was the one that put it on the map. Greenhalgh, him, and all those famous scientists there. And man, the world changed overnight for athletes.
Do you want to dispel any creatine myths out there?
Yeah, there's plenty of them out there. One, it's not a steroid. It's just because it works so well, people think it's got to be. You don't dehydrate. In fact, it actually hydrates you. It brings more water, and it reduces cramps. 60% people on them versus people not on it. There's a big one for you. And then, of course, kidneys and liver. They think, well, here's the thing. So everybody out there, write this down. If you're on creatine, and by the way, you can go to any medical site like Mayo Clinic today. It'll say, if you're taking creatine before you come in for your physical, make sure you're off it for 48 hours or 72 hours because it's going to give you a false positive. Your creatinine levels, your liver or your kidney, that's how the rumor started in the first place. People on creatine would go get a physical and their creatinine levels were high. First thing, a doctor that doesn't know anything about that, which you can't blame them, they would say, well, your kidneys, they're failing here. Whatever. And they would ask you, I'm on creatine. So that's how those rumors started. So because of that. So now everyone we work with, so we're working on people in the military. Every military is pretty much taking creatine, and all your athletes. Tell them, make sure 48 hours before, 72 hours before, just go off your creatine and go right back on after. That way you don't get a false positive. So that's the myth. It will not hurt your kidneys in any healthy person. It will not hurt your liver in any healthy person. They give them for 10 years to newborns that have creatine in, they'll give 5 to 10 grams to newborns for 5 to 10 years because they have an inborn creatine error. So obviously, they don't have mature kidneys yet, so we know it's fine.
I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that because actually, I recently had a blood test, and I've been taking like 10 or more grams of creatine for the last few months, and my creatinine levels were perfect. So, is there a reason why they were perfect, even though I've been taking creatine?
I've heard of that before. I hope your creatine's good.
Taking Creapure,
really
so I'd hope so.
Yeah, but it's and it's certified. I mean, third party tested, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, there are people. I've heard of that. I've got one of the world's strongest men. He takes 40 grams a day because he's 425 pounds that we work with. Okay, so we do everything by weight. By the way, for your audience, it's 0.14 grams per pound, and go lean body mass depending on the person if you're loading. And then after the loading period, it's 0.045 grams per pound. That's how I do everything. That's creatine for anybody that wants to know how to use it properly. And that's the right number. So yeah, I mean, I've heard people like him, he doesn't even get off it because it still comes out fine. So you're good. That means you got some really good stuff going on inside.
Perfect. Good to hear. Something that's becoming more popular is having higher dosages for things like brain function and stuff like that. Do you see there being kind of like an upper limit range for most people? I know you just said you go off pounds per off weight, but for the average person, it was like 3 grams and it's like 5 grams is the average dose, and now people are taking a lot more. Do you see there being use case for taking 10, 20 grams or?
Yeah, I think throw away your 3 to 5 gram recommendation. I don't know why whoever came up with that. I was the first guy ever to use body weight, and I didn't have the right numbers. They finally did the studies, like it's only a few years ago, about the numbers. I was just going, wait, I got the world's strongest man right here. He's 450, and I've got the Olympic gymnast that I'm working with. She's 90. Why would they get the same creatine dosage? But 3 to 5 grams is your maintenance. Really? So anyway, it was just obviously just normal common sense. Problem with science, it's not too common sense too often. They got to have this and they have this often. But yeah, so I think that's really the higher dosing that you're seeing today is based on the fact that people now realize that. But when it comes to the first question you talked about cognition, no one knows the dosage yet. And loading probably doesn't matter. The dose that we've seen the most effect at is probably getting close to 10 to 20 grams a day. It has nothing to do with muscle or anything else. Of course, that would work for that as well. But it had to do with cognition on some of the shorter term studies. So they're still experimenting it. I don't know, Jordan, if you've seen the Alzheimer's report with creatine. This is the first thing that's ever made a difference in Alzheimer progression using creatine. So they're really in early stages. We don't know the dosage. It's probably higher, to your point. When it comes to all of that, it's probably going to be higher.
I'm assuming creatine is going to be one of them, but what 3 supplements would you recommend specifically when it comes to training and bodybuilding?
Okay. So beyond filling your gaps, because if you don't have a strong foundation, so beyond, it's not negotiable. You take a complete multivitamin that contains the 20 known underconsumes. That's done, right? You have your high vitamin D and C in that. So that's done. But okay, creatine for sure.
Yep.
A beta alanine. Okay. And then depending on your age and where you are at this particular point, as far as building strength and building muscle, then what we call protein stacking with amino acids. That would be the three things that I would do into your program right there, excluding making sure that you had the right foundation filling your gaps.
How much beta alanine should you be taking?
God, you're challenging me to remember the numbers per weight. And it is weight, but it is about ideally, the problem with beta alanine, it's not like creatine. Creatine, you don't feel it when you're taking a beta alanine, makes people tingle when they get too much. So I have them split it up, but it's about 6.4 grams is the ideal for someone around 175 to 200. 3.2 is a minimum dose, but that's probably a smaller athlete. But it's about 6.4. And if you can't take it all at once, unless some powerlifters we work with love it. They love the tingling, this paresthesis or whatever that is, but it's harmless. But yeah, so you can split it up though. You can take two, and it's like creatine. You got to stay saturated. It takes a while to get the full saturation, about 30 days. And then you got to stay with that number. You can't take a day off with it. That's the other thing when you're using it.
What's your opinion on diets like carnivore and keto?
Well, it depends on how true you are to the original structure of that diet. I mean, if you're following a true carnivore, the good news is you're not going to stay too long on it. You'll just probably die of, heart attack somewhere in 5 or 10 years. Cause it's comical. I guess someone just threw it out there to, when you talk about just meat, I mean, that really no fiber, no fruits and vegetables or, the normal stuff there. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that one I just kind of discard. I think it's like someone just made it up, in the middle of the night one day. But keto's got some value to it, especially from a medical standpoint. It was designed originally for epilepsy, success with that, success for other types of diseases as well. For a person trying to diet to lose weight, that's a normal sort of healthy person, but they're trying to lose weight. I'm not saying it's the one you want to, but if it's one that you can stick with for any reason, the problem with the original keto structure also didn't allow much protein. Recently, this keto diet, I just said that they altered it. A keto diet means less than like 60 grams of carbs, 50 grams of carbs, somewhere in there. But it's also low protein and high fat. So but the ones that I'm seeing morphed now, they're up to 2 times the RDA in protein. So they're getting you 1.5 grams per kilogram, and so forth. They're getting you higher protein in those. And if you can do that, God bless you if you can stick with it for a while. But that was the only thing there. So that is certainly better than the problem is if you stayed on a real true keto, at some point there would be a saturated fat issue. With heart disease and things like that. But the good news is most people don't stay on these diets very long. But if that gets you started, so be it.
Okay, cool. I want to do a bit of a nutrition quick fire round. So the way this is going to work, it'll be up to you, but you can either give a 1-word answer or a short 1-sentence answer. And then I want to dive a bit more into the training protocol side of stuff. All right. So most nutrient dense food.
Liver.
So
now I just went against the carnivore, right? Now I just ordered the carnivore diet.
They're going to attack you now.
You can't anymore. That's why no one eats it. It's just got so much nutrients in it. It just makes it makes you gag. But yeah, it's probably the most nutrient dense food.
The carnivore community is going to attack you now for that.
They're going to love that. They're going to love that. I said that.
Most underrated food.
Oh, most underrated food. Oh, God dang it. God, I don't know. Seafood. There's so much value in a good seafood with omega-3s.
Yeah.
Good fatty fish. Yeah.
Cool. 3 foods you avoid at all costs.
It's funny. You bring out deep fried foods, just deep fried. I gag when it's too much butter. I hate butter. I'll throw up on butter. That's just me personally. The number one food I would avoid would be a poisonous mushroom.
Poisonous mushroom. I like that one. What's the best bang for your buck protein source?
Without a doubt, whey. Most essential amino acid count per gram of protein for sure, and most digestible. So it has that whole what we call PICA rating is the highest as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Most overrated health food.
You know what? The most overrated health food are these greens products that you see out there in the market.
Yeah.
They drive me out of my mind because you know what? They just pixie dust nutrients in it they don't even call out how much is in there. So yeah, those are most overrated for sure.
You might have the same answer for this next question. What popular supplement is the biggest waste of money? I would assume the greens powders.
It's going to be the green one, and it's
Yeah.
going to be the big
Okay,
one,
cool.
AG1. I tell people on that it's better than nothing if you're not doing anything, but it's not even close to being as good as it could be if they really called out the right amount of nutrients that are in there that have a clinical effect. So yeah, it's comical.
What's the single biggest nutrition lie people still believe?
That carbs make you fat.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
without a doubt. That's got to be it. It'll never go away.
What diet do you
make me
wish? What diet do you wish disappeared from Earth?
You know what? Currently, the carnivore, I guess. I mean, I think that one makes the most sense. Just discard it. Because you're just completely discounting fiber.
You're really attacking them today. They're not going to be happy.
I know. I don't mean to do that because listen, I'm a hardcore meat eater. I just love red meat, but very, very lean red meat.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I tried carnivore for a little bit, but it didn't work for me because I train 7 days a week, so not having carbs just didn't work at all.
100%.
It wasn't the diet for me. If you could ban one ingredient from the modern food system, what would it be?
It would be any food coloring dyes. What's the point? Why do we do that? I mean, I know it's supposed to make M&Ms look better or more attractive, or it's going to make this. I mean, I get it, but that doesn't make any sense. Just get rid of them.
What's one idea about nutrition that you wish every doctor understood properly?
That they should tell every person when they come in. I wrote an article about this back in 2019, a big one. They should tell every single one of their patients, if they want to help make a difference in the world, that you need to fill your nutritional gaps because I know you don't eat perfect and we don't even know what perfect is. So take a complete multi that contains the 20 known underconsumed multis or vitamins and minerals daily. That's what they should do.
Do you have a most controversial nutrition opinion that you still stand by? That's considered controversial, but you stand by it?
Yeah. When someone says, if you eat right, you don't need to take a complete multi. Okay, well, how's that working? Every study in the world, and just the most recent one just came out of England, out of Europe, that showed that we don't have 20 known underconsumed. We have 20 known underconsumed. We have 8 dangerously underconsumed. Now we have 10. It's getting worse because of the diets, because of paleo, because of carnivore, because of veganism, where it's getting worse and worse and worse. So that's the one. Don't tell people that. It's a false promise. They're never going to do it in the first place. They might do it that day. They'll think, oh, okay, I don't need to take one now. I don't need to fill my gaps. I'll just eat clean. And they won't eat clean. We know that. Every study shows us that. So it's just getting worse. So yeah, that's the one thing that I'll stand by no matter what. I don't care who's up there in the room telling you eat clean. Bullshit.
Yeah, no, cool. What's one thing fitness influencers need to stop saying?
Pretty much everything. Because they're influencers. I'm an expert, right? And I live in that. Just get out of our lane. Go live in some other lane. Make shit up the way you want to make shit up to push whatever you're pushing. Doesn't matter to me. I live in a world of reality, evidence-based stuff and real. So we're the experts, but yeah, just don't confuse people out there. It's not fair. It's not fair.
That was very interesting. I want to dive a bit more into like the training protocol side of things.
Full disclosure here now. The reason I bought the National Academy of Sports Medicine and built it was to bring in experts on training. That wasn't me. I was a giant bodybuilder, a 270-pound freak, but I just lifted heavy shit. So I was just really good at that, right? I got big and all that. So I just want you to know, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be on nutrition side. I'll take anybody on. On this side here, so trust me, there's a lot of guys that are smarter than me, but I'll do the best I can.
There's nothing too crazy. Okay. And they have a good crossover with nutrition. Is there an optimal body fat percentage range?
Well, there probably is. It depends. I mean, everybody's going to be, what do you want to be? You want to be lean. I mean, for me, it's, can I see my abs still? So I just keep it there. Yes. When optimal body fat for what though? I mean, is it for playing a sport or just in life?
Is there like a sweet spot that optimizes hormones and muscle gain simultaneously?
Yeah, probably for a male, probably around 10 to 15% would be that, because when you get way overweight, and same with female, so in female, then you go 20 to 30%, let's say. When you get too overweight, what you do is your testosterone begins to aromatize, it increases your estriol, and so if you are lower than that, then it's just hard to put on muscle.
Okay, that
So, yeah.
answers what I want to ask. Is it harder to build muscle, let's say, for example, 15 to 20% compared to 10 to 15 due to testosterone being lower? Like how much does that influence, how much does the aromatization influence your ability to build muscle at those
Almost
ranges?
none in that. You just said between 10 and 20. If you were like 12% body fat versus 18, the testosterone difference isn't going to be the big deal. What's going to be the big deal is your training and your nutrition and all that stuff. That's going to be the big deal. But when you start getting over 20, that's when it starts making a difference. And when you get under maybe 12, that's when it's going to make a difference as well.
So someone's like, for example, someone's say 18% body fat and their goal is to build muscle. Would you want them to bulk? Would you want them to be in a surplus at 18%?
Well, you see, now that's my specialty. I can put them into a surplus, but what'll happen is their body fat will drift down because the surplus adds the muscle, and the muscle makes the percentage of body fat go down because the weight's going up. So there is going to be that, and it's going to use also the energy from your fat to be able to help build the muscle and power the extra workout that you're going to be doing. So that's that little specialty I live in of gaining muscle, losing fat. I can actually do it in a deficit too. But I'm just saying, so that's that little manipulation of calories. But at 18%, your testosterone levels aren't going to make a difference. It's even if you were until you get over 20, that's when it starts to make probably a little bit of difference in how much testosterone is going to play if everything else is equal.
Okay, cool. So how much? I'm interested to know, like specifically for muscle growth. You said you're able to build muscle in a deficit, but also say, for example, at 18%, you'd put them in a surplus. What does that surplus look like? How many calories roughly?
It wouldn't be any more than maybe 125 to 250 above their maintenance. And again, no one knows what your true maintenance. I mean, I'll put you in a calorimeter. I can do anything I did. Bottom line is, what's going to tell me is your body composition change over time. Okay, again, so one way or another, your mass change is going to tell me what truly happened. So bottom line is, what I usually would do, let's say you were 18% body fat, Jordan, and you're a male. Okay. And you can't, because males and females different. There's about 8 to 10% difference in body fat where a female would be versus a male. So we're talking about a male at 18%. I want to put on muscle. Okay. Then we'll put on muscle. I would probably keep you very close to your maintenance. And then your activity tells the nutrition, the extra nutrition, where to go. So it tells you to go to your muscles, okay? But you've got to fuel the workouts and everything else, so that comes from your fat stores on that point. So that can drift down, muscle can go up at that particular time. So the more body fat you have and all you want to do is gain muscle, it's going to be a smaller increase in calories. The lower body fat you have and you only want to gain muscle, I can put the increase significantly more at that particular point.
So you mentioned you can build muscle in a deficit. Does that
that's
depend
tricky.
on?
That's a tricky. I was afraid you were going to ask that question there. So only reason I'm saying that is because yes, what's happening, your body's automatically going into a bit of a deficit. So what's happening is if you were a novice and you never worked out, but you're very overweight, or I'm not very overweight, you're like you're a guy at 20% or 18% body fat. You're a woman at 26 or 28%, and you want to lose some body fat, but you want to gain muscle. Well, what I would do at that particular point, I could put you in a small deficit, maybe 200, 250 calorie deficit. Now, at the same time, your activity, you're new because you're novice. You never worked out before. Now you're working out. Now your muscles are stimulated. So I've got enough protein in there. Your micronutrients are all getting in there calorie free, okay, on top of what you're getting from your food, into your body, and they're feeding your muscle. And you're using your fat now to give you the energies and everything else. So the fat begins to go down and the muscle goes up. Now, if you were an experienced exerciser, so you've been working out for 10 years, that's a little more complicated. Okay. To be in a deficit and gain muscle would be almost impossible. I'd have to actually increase your calories to a point where you may not lose a whole lot of body fat, during
Okay,
that period.
cool. What's the biggest mistake you see people make when it comes to muscle growth?
Okay, I will tell you the biggest mistake, at least that I see today, not in the old days, is carb intake. What they do is every bodybuilder knows that you have to have carbs to get your testosterone up. A low carb diet, a very, very low carbs, after about 2 or 3 months will lower your testosterone levels significantly. Lots of good studies around that. I actually wrote a whole paper on that only about a year ago, actually, on all that. So off season or anytime you want to build muscle, make sure your carb levels are up there. You know, that's what you want to be able to do there, because the carbohydrates have an effect on insulin, and insulin has an effect on your testosterone significantly, and IGF-1, insulin growth factor. Yeah, so they
Um,
all work together in a big play.
so how do you then prioritize, say, for example, you're building a diet for someone, how do you come up with the macro numbers then? Like, how do you start with protein and then go to carbs and fat? What do those numbers look like?
Yep. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, or pound per weight if they're not like overweight. Either way is fine. Now you start with that. That is number one. Prioritize it, number one. Second thing is your carbs. So your calories are going to be allowed. If you're only allowed 3,000 calories, then the carbs are going to make up a significant amount of that. I don't really need to give you fats. They'll come from your protein sources, or they will come from, just your, maybe a couple of regular sauce, but unsaturated fats from maybe your fish. If you're eating fish, fatty fish. I like fatty fish in people's diets, especially in the off season. So those things will get your fats there. So fats is the last thing. That's just kind of whatever's left is going to be your fats. You don't need a lot, but I do like fats around 25% of your total calorie intake. So if I had to give you a perfect place to start by macros, it would be 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fats is a great place to start anybody.
Yeah.
Even if you're losing weight. Gaining weight, I like more 50, 25, 25. Because your calories are so much, 25% of your calories are going to be well more than a gram per pound of lean body mass of protein.
Okay. I'm sure all these things play a role, but what moves the needle the most when it comes to building muscle? You got obviously diet, training volume, intensity, recovery, things like that. Is there something that stands out as moving the needle the most?
Well, without a doubt, it's nutrition.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Because, anybody can work out, but if you don't eat, you just shrink until you die. So what you put back in your body, I always do this when I start a lecture off. I go, how many people out here think that exercise builds muscle? And of course, everybody raises their hand. I go, well, it doesn't, obviously. It just tears it down. And then they all look at me and they go, yeah, exercise does not build muscle. Okay, it's a trigger event for what you want to happen next. But what happens if you don't eat? And then I go, does exercise increase performance? And they go, now they're going, oh, I don't know. And I go, well, no. So have you ever been to a 3-hour football practice? Your coach and imagine your coach going, okay, we're going to go 3 hours again. Are you better the first 3 hours or the second 3 hours?
Yeah.
Well, you get it. So it only tears down, but it's a trigger event for what you want to happen. Nutrition. So it sets the stage. Nutrition makes the movie.
Yeah. Cool.
Bad nutrition, bad movie. Same nutrition, same movie. Plateau. So nutrition is the number one thing for sure.
What's for a natural lifter? What's a realistic number of pounds of muscle that they can put on each year? Is there like a range?
For sure, there is. If you're a novice, you never worked out, we call them newbies, you can put on almost a pound a week. And especially if they're young, if they're right around 17, 18. I put on these guys going to Division I schools, they're in college, they're all fired up. Well, these are from pretty famous people's kids and stuff. I just give them, I give them the thing, they'll just gain a pound a week easily. But you also got to worry about your playing weight when you're an athlete. It could affect your vert or your explosion if you gain too much muscle. So we have to, those are different. But yes, so let's say it's all hypertrophy, only muscle. If you're new, you can gain you can gain a pound a week for the first few weeks. Then it goes to a half a pound. Then it goes to a quarter. Then you start adding creatine. I don't like starting people off on creatine. I like to just take your protein, get your micronutrients in there, work out. It's going to be great. And then we'll move you. If you want to go next level, then we can move there and move there. So you can keep that alive, for that growth alive. But after you become mature, I call it the age and experience intersect. So in other words, if you're 50 years old and never worked out, you're going to put on a lot of muscle for the next 3 years if you do everything right. But if you're 50 years old like me and you retired at 40, all you're going to do is lose muscle, okay? Because your whole life there. So again, that's the age experience intersect. So, but if you're an athlete, let's just say you're in your 30s and you're still competing in bodybuilding and you're a natural bodybuilder, if you can put on 5 pounds a year of solid muscle, that's a good number.
Okay, interesting. What should resistance training for people over 50 look like?
More sets than in other words, I'm sorry, more volume, more reps per set.
Yeah.
In other words, you got to get to that point where your joints aren't going to be able to take it or any of these things. So if you were doing 6 to 12 reps before, you should start moving into 12 to 20, maybe even 30 reps sometimes. You'd be surprised. So it's more volume at that particular time. Then you can just cut the sets down. You're just doing a lot of activity because, you've lost all the nerves that are going to the muscle at that point. You're going the other way. So the only way you're going to get that pump is with a more set, and you don't want the injury.
Yeah, cool. What's the biggest mistake you see older lifters make then? Is it going too heavy?
Going too heavy and hanging on to that number. You're hanging on, but I can't like I used to. So next thing you know, your shoulder, you got some issues there. Your rotator cuffs are all screwed up. So that's the biggest mistake. But again, you're gonna hit that before you finally figure out you can't do that anymore. So it's really hard to tell someone that before it happens. You know what I mean?
How do you view recovery? What should people be focusing on?
Well, you know what I'm going to say, of course. All your recovery is all your nutrition and sleep. That's it. Those are the two things you want to be able to focus on. And recovery, people talk about overtraining. Overtraining is basically undernutrition. You're just not getting all the stuff your body needs to repair before your next bout of exercise. So that's really what it comes down to for me. It's it's all about nutrition, and then of course you got to get enough sleep as well, as much as you can.
What about recovery modalities like sauna, cold plunge, and things like that? Where do you stand on those modalities?
Well, I don't have a problem with cold plunges. I know a lot of people that do it and have done it, and there is actually a little bit of science around what goes on from an endocrine side inside the body. So it's okay. If you like it, do it. If it makes you feel good, go ahead and do it. I wouldn't do it because I'm afraid I'll have a heart attack. I'm so old now, so that's the only reason I don't do a cold plunge. But I do jump in my pool regularly when it's very, very cold, So yeah, I think it does something sort of invigorating. And if that works for you and it carries over in your next day, and that's all good for you.
Is it necessary to have a deload week in your program every couple of months? Or is it?
I don't know if it's every couple of months, Jordan. It depends on your schedule. Most of the people that we work with will be competitive, so they have a schedule. They have a season, off season. But absolutely, yes, you should what we call do active rest. So once you've peaked and you've gone through, let's say you're bodybuilding and finish your competition, slowly get back to the gym, never rep out, just go through some emotion. Active rest means just move through your motions in the gym. Don't go to failure. Do all that and take a week off. Take a week off. Get the head clear. Let the body metabolism kind of just all get back to normal a little bit, and then you slowly build it up, and then go to the next level. After that. So yes, I think everyone has to do that. We call that periodization training.
I mean, if it's someone's not like an elite athlete and they're just in the gym trying to put on muscle, would you say more to just go off like feel, and if you're kind of plateauing with your progressive overload a bit, is that when you would hit a deload week? Or
yes, right, you've said it just perfect. I would say, and by the way, that number's probably right around 3 months. Right around 3 months, 3 to 4 months, somewhere in there is probably a time you want to take some active rest. That doesn't mean you don't go to the gym. You can go to the gym and hang out. Okay. And you can go to the gym and do a couple of reps, do a couple of sets, do all that, but some active rest. Let everything kind of rejuvenate, get your head straight and all that kind of stuff.
So, something that's popular, very popular at the moment, are peptides. What's your stance on peptide use?
Yeah. And I do have it. And there are people that I work with, especially in my orbit, people that, they want to do anything to stay young, whatever they can. And the eternal youth that everybody's looking for. And just so you know, I've never even thought about taking any peptides or anything like that. And when I, obviously as a bodybuilder, if you look at my pictures, I obviously took steroids the last 10 years of my competition. But I went cold turkey when I quit, never looked back. And so no hormone therapy or anything for me. And I would have to say that 90% of the people in my orbit, so these are people that they're billionaire, they have all these, crazy amounts of money and stuff like this, and they're own giant companies. These people are all doing something, right? Just to be able to keep their youth. So I just want to, open book on all that. So it's not me, but I will tell you, if you are, so take hormone therapy first. If your testosterone level is less than 300 nanograms, right, on a regular basis, then you're a candidate for it, and it may help you with longevity. And there's also some peptides that can increase your growth hormone that might be able to get you to that next level as well. But if it's not, then there could be some harm in not the peptides, but the hormone therapy. That's all I'm saying. If it's not, because you never know, there could be, it won't cause an issue, but there might be something festering that accelerates it if you jack your hormones up when you shouldn't. Okay, that's that. Peptides, though, it's an interesting study right now. The difference with peptides is they don't stress the metabolism when you take it, because they just get broken down when they're not being used, and they just kind of recirculate the amino acids and so forth. The reason peptides are better than the natural ones you make, are all broken down in an hour or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or all that. When you take an artificial peptide, they just move the molecule a little bit, so your body doesn't know how to break it down, so it keeps it up and it pushes the growth hormone. That's what they're doing. They're what we call secretagogues for like growth hormone, and they push it to keep producing. Growth hormone now produces, that goes to your IGF-1, which is all the worker bees. They're the ones that set out to muscle growth, bone growth, and all that stuff. So there's definitely there's no strong evidence that supports it. But there's some great anecdotal evidence out there. We know it works, like the BP 157 for healing issues. There's no question we know this stuff works. But final answer to your question is this: do not even think about doing it until you get your metabolism working perfectly, which means after 3 or 4 months of making sure you filled all your gaps, your 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, your omega-3s and your vitamins and minerals all full, because maybe you don't need it after that. But not only that, if you do need it, you don't know, it will work that much better. So what I say, people just, my problem is, Jordan, jumping to peptides, jumping to hormone therapy before you did all the regular stuff you should do first. So that's a problem, because now you're putting a blower motor on a Volkswagen and you're going to blow the thing apart.
Yeah.
So it's just a bad idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look for the quick fix.
Yes.
You just reminded me of something. You said omega-3s. I wanted to quickly ask, because I forgot to ask it earlier. How should people be supplementing with omega-3s? What's like the dosage? And I'm interested to hear what forms as well. I personally take krill oil. I don't know if is that a good form?
It's okay. Krill oil is okay. There's some issues to it. I mean, some people can't because of the crustacean allergies.
Yeah.
That's one. The other thing is, it's, krill is really important to our ecosystem. So wiping out all that for omega-3s is not my idea. And it's far more expensive than your regular omega-3s from the marine. And by the way, the ones that are prescription, they're actually drugs, but they're omega-3s. They are only from the fish. Okay, so fish oil is a DHA, EPA from fish directly. So there's more evidence on that, but krill oil works. I've seen some recent studies here. It's fine. You can afford it. There's no reason you would undo that. But just your regular EPAs, DPA, and a standard doses of 3 to 2 EPA over DHA. When you're young, like a prenatal now includes more DHA, because the 3rd trimester of in the womb is when the brain really develops, and most of it needs a ton of DHA. So that's part of the prenatal these days. And we see that kids come out that had enough DHA and EPA omega-3s in the womb are better kids later on. But right now, they're actually treating many disorders, aggressive disorders in kids with omega-3s, and seeing some great results. Great 29 different studies. They put them all together in meta-analysis and showed that it reduces all types of aggression in kids. And that translates into adulthood. So omega-3s, for your audience, if they don't know, these are molecules that we get from fatty fish. We don't make it in the body. It can, but it's very difficult. So it becomes an essential fatty acid. And we need them. They're in every one of our cells. The bigger part that we use it for is what we call inflammation resolution. We always have inflammation in the body all the time. And the older you get, the more inflammation you have. We all know that's part of the aging process. And same as part of the injury. And when you get sick, you get inflammation. That's all that stuffiness and everything else you have. But what happens is our body can't control it well. Omega-3s, when they're full in the body, you have enough of them, resolves that inflammation on time. Along with some other things as well. But that's really important for that. So the eicosanoid production is from your omega-3s. And they're in all of your trillion cells. Omega-3s are basically in all the membranes. That's how the cells communicate. It allows the fluid in there. So what you want is your omega-3s on an omega-3 test. About 8% of your erythrocytes should be omega-3s. That's how we measure them on that. It's an omega-3 index. And if you have it there, you're going to be in that higher area of where we have better health outcomes, because omega-3s are responsible through so many different things out there, including athletes using it for recovery. You can recover faster as well. So yes, I mean, omega-3s, I just tell people, you can think of it as an essential vitamin and mineral, if you will, where you can't really live without it. And when you don't have enough of it, bad things happen, including the inflammation. That's why you see these people on ventilators, Yeah.
For people who don't eat fish, where can you get enough from food sources, or should you supplement?
No, you got to supplement. Yeah. If you're not eating fatty, and it's got to be fatty fish.
How many grams per day should you be having?
You know what? A minimum is you really only, listen, if I had to go by like World Health Organization or that, which I don't, that's always the minimum, prevent deficiencies, 500 milligrams a day, which is half a gram. Okay. 1 gram a day is what I would say. If you're like, for me, and Zane will tell you, I probably have fatty fish 6 times a week, only because we'll have salmon one night. I'll have it for the next 2 meals. At lunch. I make all my meals. It's an old bodybuilding habit. I take them. I bring a lunchbox to my office.
That's so good.
I bring all that stuff. Yeah. So I get plenty of it. So I might just take 500 milligrams a day just to be sure. And if I'm traveling, I usually don't eat fish. So then I'll just take 2 a day. So, we just say anywhere between 1 and 2. So about 1,200 milligrams a day would be enough for anybody if you weren't eating any fish, maybe a little more. But if you're eating any fish at all, and I'm not talking about fried fish from McDonald's, I'm talking about any fish at all, then you're probably good with just 1 or 2, like 1,000 milligrams a day, which would be a gram.
Do you see oxidization as being an issue when it comes for omega-3 supplements?
Yeah, in a shitty omega-3 supplement, absolutely. Yeah. They're just really cheaply done. And they won't even call out the amount of omega-3s. I see them on sale for like $7.95 for 100 tablets. Really, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So you do. So we the company we use, it's an Alaskan company up there, and they certify the oxidation value. There's 0 oxidation. They go through all that process of that. Okay, and it's also sustainable fisheries where they get it from. So that's what you want to look for. Sustainable and the 0 oxidation, and guarantee no mercury. See, the reason people stop eating fish, and pregnant women are told by their doctors don't eat fish because of mercury. I get it. Okay. But the problem is you're not getting the omega-3s. Now that's why they're giving omega-3s as part of the prenatal package. So yeah, you definitely, for sure, that with no PCPs or the plastics the fish eat. That's the beauty of getting a good farm fished omega-3.
What moves the needle the most when it comes to longevity?
Well, it's always going to be your nutrition and activity. I mean, there's the 3 cornerstones to longevity, active longevity, I should say. Rather than, you put someone on a machine, they can live for 10 years. But active longevity, then there's 3 cornerstones. No scientist in the world disagrees with that. Meeting nutrition recommendations, staying active, and a healthy body composition. So everybody write that down. Those are the 3. But without nutrition being number 1, and I mean in that order, the other 2 aren't going to happen. So you think of the prenatal, Jordan. The prenatal became mandatory. Every doctor, dietitian recommends a prenatal to a woman that's going to conceive. That single move, it's something, a multivitamin mineral, that's all it is, wiped out over 30% of major birth defects. So why would you ever stop filling your gaps? We want to wipe out adult defects.
Yeah.
So nutrition recommendations is the first thing you've got to meet, and then you'll want to be active. You won't have all your fractures, all the stuff from the calcium, vitamin D, and that will help you keep a body composition. So those are the cornerstones right there.
What 3 supplements would you recommend specifically for longevity?
Yeah, for longevity, it's going to be your complete multivitamin mineral, and then it's going to be your if you're not getting enough fish, because you could offset, you could get it. You don't have to take, you're never going to get your vitamins and minerals if you don't take a supplement, the ones you need, all of them. But the omega-3 you could get if you have enough fatty fish. So, but I'm going to throw that one in as number 2, because I don't think anybody eats enough. And then 3, the final one would be your antioxidant protection that you get from fruits and vegetables that nobody eats enough. So lutein, zeaxanthin, and lycopene. Those 3 are the big parts of our brain, our eyes, skin protection, all that. That would be an antioxidant like that. And CoQ10 falls in that too.
Yeah, cool. What's one myth or trend in the fitness industry that frustrates you the most, specifically when it comes to training?
Yeah, okay. So training myths that are out there. Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing that bothers me is that, again, because I live in the gym business, and 70% of the goals of the people that join a gym, 70% of the goals are weight loss, body fat loss, right? And they think somehow exercise is going to solve that problem for them. Exercise is not a weight loss solution. Anybody will tell you that when you look at all the studies. You've got to have the nutrition side of it. So without nutrition, exercise, you just don't get paid for the work you're doing. So for me, that's the biggest training mistake people make. When you separate training, you separate it from nutrition, you're screwed right off the bat. They are intertwined, and you've got to make that happen.
Okay, I want you to put your bodybuilder hat on, and we're just going to do a quick fire round, but more focused on training. Least effective training split, in your opinion?
Least effective?
Least effective training split.
Well, that would be training the same body part 2 days in a row, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I never thought about that one before. So training the same body part.
All right, what's your personal favorite exercise for each body part? We'll go through them. Chest.
Okay. Chest? Dumbbell press.
Dumbbell press, same. Yep. Back.
Deadlift. Lower back, that would be for deadlift. I just loved it because I was just really good at it. Yep. I got these really long arms.
Shoulders.
I do lateral raises, dumbbell lateral raises.
Legs.
Squats.
Triceps.
I used to like dips. I just can't do them anymore. So I used to really like dips. I get a really good pump with a good dip.
What was the heaviest you went on weighted dips?
I would hang like a 70-pound dumbbell or 100-pound dumbbell. Just in Venice, I would hang that from my waist and then go in there and do it. Yeah.
Biceps.
Oh, you know what? This will sound funny, but I really did like a straight barbell curl with Olympic weights. I like cheek curls. They were just fun to do. I always like to lift heavy stuff, and so it was it. I'm not saying it was the best bicep exercise, but it was my favorite.
Forearms.
Hammer curls.
Hammer curls, yeah, nice. What's the most overrated exercise in the gym?
Wow. Anything to do with what you think is reducing your belly fat.
That's a good answer, actually. That's a very good answer.
Anything that you think is going, because that ain't going to do it.
What's the most underrated exercise?
Well, I won't be underrated. I think I will always say that's, if you can squat, just keep squatting. But the most underrated, oh God, you got me on that one, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I actually haven't thought about that. I was interested to hear if you had one. So I would agree with you. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. Yeah. So I was hoping, So anyway, I deferred to you on that one.
I would maybe say pull-ups.
Pull-ups? Okay. I can't really do them anymore, but I remember doing them and I liked them a lot too.
What's the most common gym mistake you see? Specifically when it comes to training.
Okay. Yeah. I would say the most common one I see is that, and again, I didn't do it, so I was guilty of it back in my day, which is probably why I end up with so many injuries, is not really working the support muscles. Okay. So not going through the stabilization of muscles, whether it be rotator cuffs, that would be an underrated exercise, by the way, in the gym.
Yeah.
Rotator cuff work. Cause that's what's going to happen to you when you get older. Trust me. I've had 4 certain major shoulder surgeries. related to bodybuilding, but also falling off my horse at 35 miles an hour
Oh, no.
is led to that, some of that too. But my point is yeah, those are things. Foam rolling. I mean, no one likes to do that stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to do that? But it will save you some aggravation down the road.
Who was your bodybuilding idol growing up?
Now, that was easy, Arnold.
Yeah.
That was easy. Yeah, without a doubt.
Training fasted, useful or counterproductive? I think we already know the answer here.
What's that now?
Training fasted, is it
Oh,
useful or
fasting.
counterproductive?
Yeah, counterproductive. Yeah, yeah.
Machines or free weights?
Both.
Oh, okay. Best
Because I
recovery.
like machines, but machines like free motion, where they let your joints move, not fixed. Otherwise, just do weights. Just do
Yeah.
fixed. Otherwise, machines that move, there's some cool stuff you can use.
Best and worst recovery tool.
Best and worst recovery source?
Recovery tool, like training, like
Oh,
say
yeah.
like a sauna or something.
Oh, okay. I just think that the overpriced chambers, cryo chambers people get in and stuff like that, I think that's listen, and maybe it mentally gets you in a good place or whatever. You think that there's a little science behind some of it, but I think that's the most probably waste. That's the biggest waste of money when you should be spending it somewhere else, certainly on the proper nutrition, proper rest, all the stuff in between.
What separates elite athletes from everyone else?
Well, certainly two things. One, they got lucky in the beginning by matching their genetics to their passion. So they had, if you were an endurance athlete like a Lance Armstrong or something like that, you're obviously a type 1 fiber dominant. You fell in love with cycling because you were so good at it, and the rest is history. Okay, forget about the drug stuff. But that's just part of every sport. But yeah, so that would be it. I mean, same with your world's strongest men. They're type 2 athletes, right? And they just fell in love with it, and then you just got good at it, and so you stayed there. So then it's the motivation. And combining all the components, your nutrition, your day, you wake up, you lay everything out, you map it. So it's all of that. It's all just that, sort of psychoness locking in.
Obsession, yeah.
Obsession, yeah.
Favorite muscle group to train?
Yeah, for me, it was legs because it was just so challenging. I could just move these crazy amounts of numbers. I was fortunate enough to be able to work out with some of the world's strongest men. That was, even though I was a bodybuilder, they would just make jokes with me, just being this little, a bodybuilder guy, but I was squatting with them on some big numbers too, so that was cool. That was my favorite.
Coffee or pre-workout?
Both.
Both. Okay, cool.
Put the caffeine in your pre-workout.
If you could record a 60-second message that every personal trainer in the world would hear, what would you say?
I would say, you got to just branch out. You've got to we have an opportunity here to make a difference in the world, to actually save the world through fitness. We're the first line of healthcare. We take care of people's health while they have it. And that's not going to work just teaching them how to exercise. Don't be an exercise instructor. Be a holistic practitioner. Give them the other 23 hours a day when they leave. Get involved with nutrition. Take a simple little certification, that's only a few hours to get you so you can hand off and tell people what to do, how to fill their gaps properly, how to get the right amount of calories to get to their goal and make a difference to keep them away from big pharma. We have that opportunity. That would be my spiel to every single trainer.
What separates a good coach from a great one?
A good one from a great one?
Yeah. Or you could do a bad one from what separates a bad one from a good one?
A bad one is an exercise instructor. They're not a coach. They're just an exercise instructor. So throw them out. A good one, though, is dealing with nutrition and dealing with the holistic thing. A great one is one that gets inside your head and really wants to dig deep with you and be a part of your success. And emanating their success to you and giving you everything you need. So a great one will be that, and that person will never leave you. In fact, you got to push them out, because so you can take on some new people and change their lives as well. But that's it. The one that really connects with you emotionally.
How important has mindset been for you over the years?
Well, at the end of the day, your attitude's everything. Your beliefs are everything, and you can't succeed unless you find people with sort of the same mindset. I mean, my humble successes in business have been that I surrounded myself with people the same self-interest, which means, for those of you who don't, what we mean by that is people that do what you do for the same outcome. They want to make a difference in the world. It wasn't about the money. I surround myself with that. I mean, that comes with it. When you do good things, money will come when you're doing it right, when you have integrity. But it was not that. It was all about making a difference in the world. I've got to make a difference. I have to have a purpose. And you surround yourself with those people, and that's that culture you create. So mindset is really everything. And the mindset of optimism, we're really, you have this positive view, or you're really going to be screwed. Otherwise, you're a doom and gloom. You're always looking at the dark side or this. Optimism combined with just surrounding yourself with people that do things for the same reason you do things. So mindset's really your attitude and the fairness, being fair. I think that's just a big part of the attitude.
What still drives you after all these years? Is there one thing that stands out?
Yeah. And again, sometimes I don't know. My wife thinks I'm cursed. She goes, "Why do we build the biggest companies in the world and tell me keep doing this and all this kind of stuff?" I go, "Because I haven't finished yet. I made a commitment, when I was a kid to save the world through fitness. I missed my whole childhood. I never had a childhood, to give up that to do what I do today. And, I've lost it all during that. And, but I'd go back and do it all over again just to be where we are. We're making a bit of a difference. We're moving the needle a little bit, certainly in the environments we work in. So I just can't. That's what moves me. I haven't finished that yet, and I'm cursed. I don't want anybody to be cursed like me. I want you to be able to go off and ride off in the sunset with your horses, like I could if I wanted to, and just be just great and do all that. But I get up every day, Jordan, because I have to have a purpose, or I don't think I could live. I don't think I could be happy. I have to have that, and I'm going to finish. I'm going to save the world through fitness and help people be able to stay away from big pharma. They run the country. I know there's a reason for them, but they've gone too far, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to save the world through fitness, or I'm never going to know if I did or didn't, because I will die trying.
I love that. What's the most important business lesson you've learned over the years?
I think it goes back to what we were just talking about. It really is, for me, besides obviously the integrity part of it, always doing the right thing, choosing truth over popularity is a huge thing that you always got to do. But it's surrounding yourself with the right people, culture. You've really got to have culture. I mean, you work together as a team way better than you're ever going to work alone, but you don't want the wrong people on your team. So for me, it was always being able to bring people in that have the same values that you do. And it may be the same goals, maybe not, but they have the same values you have. That's why my partner, Mark Masteroff, who's, we're just, he's better at something than I am. I'm better in something than he is, but we have the same values. So he's the business guy. He's probably the only billionaire in our industry, of course. But he said we're partners in almost everything that we do. But I'm better on the intellectual property side in the fitness world. So that marriage of, Crunch and UFC, all the brands that we've been able to build and everything else, it's like that has been really special. And so that's really what it's about for me. I've learned that it really is the people around you, it's the culture and finding people and bringing them together as the team. That's my most important lesson I've ever learned.
Neal, that was very, very, very informative. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and have a chat. Where can people find you, and is there anything you want to shout out in particular?
Well, they can always find me at dotFIT.com. That's one of the big companies that we have that supports all of pro college teams and of course the fitness industry facilities that we run, personal training and all that. But also National Academy of Sports Medicine for those of you that are looking for certification. That's another one. I'm on the board there. It was my company. And then finally, for your fitness professionals out there, Fiber Pro. FIBR .fit. I think it's .fit. I forget what it is. You'll figure it out. But anyway, get there and find and incorporate nutrition into your personal training and expand your career, make a difference in the world by doing that. We need you. We need you. So that's it.
Perfect. We'll link everything.
Hold on. Most importantly, Supbeast. That's right.
I was about to mention it myself. Don't worry. Oh, we're gonna link all of that down below for you guys.
Great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on, Neal. I really appreciate it.
Well, Jordan, thanks for having me, and I loved all the questions. And I really had I had a wonderful time, kind of reliving everything. So it was good. Thank you.